Ladies and gentlemen, our referee has called a stop to this contest, declaring the winner by knockout and new MMA show! Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting round of and new MMA show. I'm your host, Michael Henson, and I do absolutely fabulous things with microphones because I'm a ring announcer and cage announcer and all that. And I'm joined this week, as I always am, by my two co-hosts who bring MMA punditry to new heights. Introducing to you first, from New York, Mark Priaulx. What's up, buddy?
Pound for pound, headshot, dead. One of the greatest quotes of my life. Can't believe that shit friggin' happened. Cannot wait to talk about it. Got stuck here at work today. Never made it home, so I don't have my usual pizzazz behind me. So the gift from Tommy from Unboxing is going to have to be what carries us through, along with Michael Bisping and the other books. I don't have the rest of my shit. Yeah. Ready to go. Oh, wait, real quick, before I give up the floor. I just want to take this moment to do something that we do in jest at times, but not seriously very often. I didn't see anyone, anywhere, picking Leon Edwards this week. Not on a show, not on a website that I frequent, nowhere. And not only did two of us on this podcast tell you that we thought he was going to win, but we had the balls to put that out there and potentially look really fucking dumb when we didn't see anyone else doing it. And to me, that shows you the level of MMA show that this is. And I know we haven't quite broken through to huge numbers yet or anything like that, but we don't mess around on this podcast, and we don't seriously pump ourselves up often. We do it jokingly, but I think we deserve some love, and I'm giving it to us.
I was the unlucky soul that took Usman by decision. I said,
you
but
and everybody
war,
else.
and it was, that was wrong.
Pretty fucking close.
It was fucking wrong.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, let's be real. By the end of that, or by the middle of that fifth round, Mark and I were both like, man, this is fucked right now. Like, this is not going our way. And then all of a sudden, boom. I mean, it was literally a Rocky movie. I mean, you can't.
Well, we'll get to that.
It cannot be written any better.
Let me introduce you. From Florida,
That's right.
the Sunshine State, he is La Pesadilla de Nicaraguense, Omar Artola. What's up, man?
What's going on? I didn't even realize we hadn't even gotten into it. It already started. I think my quote that I will go with this weekend is, "I'm fucking old." Do you have any idea how much that fucking hurt me to hear Rockhold say that? Yeah, it hurts so bad because the man's like 37. We're all not that far off.
That's not what he meant.
Listen, deep down, I know what he meant. Things are clicking the wrong way now. Shit's making noise and it never used to. You don't heal the same way.
Bro, he's athlete old. He's pro athlete old.
We were just joking about how if one of us fell off of a bike or some rollerblades, we would all be like fucking dead.
In the hospital, man.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yes. I get it.
Geez.
And it sucks to hear.
That's true.
But yeah, we'll get to the Rockhold thing as well. But that one hit me, man. That
man.
sucked.
We're going to get to that co-main and main event from this past weekend very shortly. But first, let me run down this show real quick. That's right. We're going to discuss all the big fights and all the fights in general from this past weekend's UFC 278, Usman versus Edwards 2. We're going to go into our lightning round. We're going to get a quick update from our Priaulx Rankings system. We're also going to get an update from Mark from PFL 9. Then we're going to dive inside the MMA Sphere with Omar and see what's new in the headlines in the world of mixed martial arts outside the cage. We're going to quickly preview one championship coming up in Singapore this coming weekend. And then we're going to jump into some trivia, guys, because there is no UFC this weekend. Wasn't there just like 12 weekends in a row of UFC?
It was amazing.
Very popular.
Yeah, it was quite the
way
run.
Life is supposed to be.
A lot of great events. So before we hop into any of these fights, breakdowns, or previews, let us first address our audience. If you're listening to this or watching this right now on YouTube, thank you so much. We love doing this show. We love engaging with you guys. It has been a great ride thus far, and it ain't stopping anytime soon. if you're on YouTube right now, go ahead and click that thumbs up button. It's going to help us out a ton. My favorite way of engaging is if you guys leave us a comment down below. If you agree with any of our takes, love our takes, or if you hate one of our takes, let us know. We always appreciate the thoughtful conversation. Hey, if you want audio only, we got you right there. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, join the conversation on social media. You can find us at @&new_MMA show in all the social places. Okay, gentlemen. This week, the name on the marquee has got to be Leon Rocky Edwards, who this past Saturday night at the Vivint Arena in Salt Lake City, Utah, in front of 18,000 strong, knocked out Kamaru Usman by a vicious head kick. The official time coming at 4 minutes and 4 seconds of round number 5. What was one of the greatest title fight wins, comebacks by knockout that you're ever going to see, that you've ever seen. Unreal. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Mark, let me throw it over to you first because I've been talking enough. Take us through that moment first, and of course give us your assessment of how that fight was playing out, obviously.
This fight, man, I mean, this whole entire moment and story and everything surrounding it, just incredible. The videos that are out now, they got the Rocky montage to Leon's corner yelling at him, saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" With the KO at the end. I mean, the amount of videos out right now are incredible. Did you see the one today where Kamaru was talking about if Leon did his homework and you see him training the left kick? Just incredible. But to get into the fight, first we have Leon come out in round 1, stuff a takedown, take Kamaru down for the first time ever in his career, and chase a sub. And, I mean, we are gassed all the way up. Like, he's showing everything that we thought he could, and even more in terms of the wrestling. And we're like, holy shit, like Leon Edwards. At least me, I'm like, I'm going to get it right. And then he falls into the pattern. And it's the same pattern we've seen from a lot of guys who Kamaru has fought. Not all, but a lot of guys, and even more so a lot of guys that Khabib fought in his time. And I get it. I get it that the pressure that a Khabib or a Kamaru puts on you must feel tremendous, and you feel like you need to back up. But Leon falls into that pattern, and a guy like Leon backing up all fight against Kamaru is taking away the number one reason that he has a real chance to beat Kamaru. And that reason is that he is a significantly more skilled striker. But when you back up for 15 minutes and you let your opponent, by 15 minutes I mean rounds 2 through 4, and you let your opponent dictate the space and the pace, couldn't decide which one I wanted to say, but they're both right, and force yourself to fight off your back foot, and with your back to the cage, you are severely limiting your options. And that's what Leon did, and it was infuriating. And I couldn't believe it that he came this far to fight this way. His corner damn sure couldn't believe it. His corner was absolutely losing their minds, more or less saying, Leon, what the fuck are you doing in there? This is not why you came here. You got to wake up, so on and so on. And round 5 starts, more of the same. And there's a separation that happens around 2:25 left in the fight when they're stalled on the cage and Herb separates them. And from 2:25 onward, for the first time all fight long, Leon stops backing up. Maybe he said, I know I lost already, let me just go for it. Maybe it wasn't even a conscious decision. Maybe he just kind of fell into a rhythm and started doing it. But he stops backing up. And for everyone saying it was just one lucky head kick, I will counter that with the fact that Leon won every second of the next minute and a half that he stopped backing up. He wins it all. He's landing kicks. He's landing counters. Usman is trying to back him up. And instead of conceding, he'd feint or he'd throw something small, and Usman would pause, and Leon would take that step forward again to reset himself and not let himself get backed up. And all of a sudden, he has opened his toolbox to show everything that Leon Edwards can do. And because MMA is the wildest sport in the whole damn world, somehow, some way, we only needed 1+ minute of that toolbox being opened and him finally fighting the way he should have been fighting, and he finds it. He finds one of the greatest head kicks we will ever see in our lives. He puts the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world out cold, staring up at the lights. He jumps the cage. He Connor walks around the cage. He gives one of the greatest promos you'll ever hear in your life. He hits us all with pound-for-pound, headshot, dead, which will be etched in my brain forever. And he ascends the welterweight throne that he has always told us he would. He never doubted it. Here he is. What a fucking night.
Omar, take us through that head kick moment. What did you see? What made it so brilliant?
You know, for a head kick that I feel like is almost perfectly set up to continuously mess people up, it's not utilized enough. We've seen TJ Dillashaw use that same combination against Priaulx, which enormously destroyed Priaulx's whole head. I feel like we've seen it somewhere else as well, and I can't remember now off the top of my head. But that straight, and it works honestly from either side. The lead side works the best because it's the fastest, because there's less telegraph involved. But I mean, it works from either side. But at the end of the day, we've seen now 2 weeks in a row what happens when people play too much boxing in a game where feet and knees are involved. Feats are not a word, but there it is. Okay. Dominic Cruz went full tilt and ate a foot right in his face as a result. Kamaru kept throwing his body all the way to the right to slip a punch. If you watch guys who fight Muay Thai, and I say that just because the fighting style is very different from boxing when you're doing Muay Thai. You know, I actually recently started, there's some new guys who've come to the gym who are boxers by nature who are trying to learn Muay Thai. Their biggest issue is their posture and their stance, because they're not used to having to worry about anything below their belt. So there's a lot of ducking, a lot of dodging, a lot of crazy movements that, like, I keep telling them, you do that, bro, I'm going to kick you straight in your face.
Yeah.
And that we're seeing a lot of that now at this point. And we're seeing it at the highest level, which I think is very interesting. You know, slips and dodges when you watch somebody who does Muay Thai, these dudes are in and out, in and out. There is no time for these guys to be all the way out, kind of calculating where they're going. Like, these guys are in and out. And a lot of times when it comes to head kicks, these guys are dodging. They'll pull a Rafael Fiziev. That's a normal thing for Muay Thai fighters to do.
What are you talking about?
Kind of like, think of like the Matrix that like
all the way back.
He goes all the way back, and McGregor's like,
Right.
"You just axe kick him." That's not how that works. That is a legitimate defense in Muay Thai is to slip those head kicks that way. So it was amazing to see Leon Edwards be able to set that up and execute it and just put on what somebody called, I don't know if it was Bisping or DC, but a Hail Mary pass during the Super Bowl.
I mean,
that. I did. I mean, that's as amazing as it gets.
That makes it sound lucky.
Was it not, though?
I
Listen,
don't think a Hail Mary implies luck necessarily. It implies that it seemed like you were dead and you pulled it out of your ass.
And there is a little luck involved, though. A little bit. At the end of the day, you're still, you could be as skilled as you want to be with Tom Brady. You're still throwing a ball however many yards and hoping the dude at the end can do his job too. You know what I mean? The way Leon talked about being there that night, his body wasn't working with him. His body and his mind were doing two different things. So would I call it a little lucky that his body worked exactly the way he needed it to work, when it worked, and how it worked to get the result he needed? I'd give it a little bit of luck, and there's no shame in that. Rocky put in the hours. That combo is not luck. But how that combo landed, the moment it landed, with seconds left to go, hell yeah, dude, that's a little luck right there, man.
Yeah, I felt like...
Yeah. I don't know.
Just kind of slightly
in
counter
a good
what Mark
way.
was saying.
It's a good thing. He did work. I'm not taking anything away from him, but
He won
like
the title.
it's a beautiful thing. That's one of the reasons I love this sport, is because shit like that can happen at any given moment.
At any moment. Yeah. I'm going to counter Mark a little bit. I feel like, yes, Leon does deserve credit. It was not a lucky kick because he was finally not backing up. But I also feel like it seemed like Usman finally took his foot off the gas a little bit, and he was kind of a little more content standing with Edwards in the middle of this final round, going into the final moments of the round. And he paid for it, man. He did.
It could have been part of it.
I don't think he fell asleep behind the wheel, but maybe he just got a little complacent. He was like, all right, I'll stand up and strike a little bit. I've been winning this whole fight.
And I also think that he thought that Rocky was gassed. I think he thought that Rocky didn't have anything left. But, you know, Kamaru made 2 mistakes in that entire fight, and it cost him the title. The first one was allowing that body lock and getting that outside trip on him. Because who's ever done that to Kamaru Usman in the cage? Literally nobody. And then the second one, well, right, but it just those are literally the only 2 mistakes Kamaru made in the entire fight. Yep. Getting taken down in the first round, then he was basically perfect for the rest of the fight, and then made one more mistake where he dipped his head a little too far, and he ate a kick. 2 mistakes cost him the title.
Mark, you have a rebuttal to my rebuttal?
I think it's possible that maybe Kamaru did start to feel a little too safe, but as much I'm not saying it's wrong, but just to counter it, you see moments, as I referenced a little earlier, where Kamaru does try to get that pressure going again. And Leon, instead of just accepting it and backing right up like he was doing all fight, anytime Kamaru walked forward, would throw feints or would tease a little knee or would do whatever it was, and Kamaru would pause and Leon would step into the space again to make Kamaru step backward.
That's great.
And I didn't see that all fight until then. So I think that as much as maybe Kamaru relaxed a little bit, I also think finally Leon changed the rhythm of the footwork and the spacing in that octagon. Kamaru was suddenly fighting in a rhythm he had not for the entire fight yet. It was different to him. And Leon throws the left kick to the body twice in that minute and a half before the head kick. One lands to the body, one lands to the belt line. Remember, they paused it for a second, and they were like, no, it's clean. Keep going. So he had Kamaru thinking about that kick to the body, and Kamaru left his head wide open. So there was a lot that went into it that was more than just Kamaru taking it easy.
It was beautiful.
And I guess I should let me rephrase the luck bit, because I don't want to take anything away from Leon Edwards. The luck really comes from Kamaru Usman going out. That head kick was going to land. The head kick landed beautifully, but Kamaru could have stumbled back. There are a lot of things that could have happened as a result of Kamaru getting hit by that leg.
Could have eaten it.
The fact that Kamaru went to sleep, well, kind of, his eyes were open. This is one of the scariest fucking things I've ever seen.
Knocked out. He folded and he collapsed.
But the fact that he was out as a result of that kick, I mean, there's like a 1% luck right there, man. I mean, it's, again, a beautiful thing. It's the flip of the coin. It's what makes MMA so dangerous. You can be perfect for however long, and then one wrong move and your switch is off.
And that was a
headshot,
picture perfect.
dead.
Yeah, picture perfect kick, man. Shin on chin.
Yeah.
It was a thing of beauty, man. A thing of beauty. And what
And
a
how about-
reversal.
we didn't even-
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. You go ahead, Mike.
No, so what a reversal for Leon Edwards, man. Rounds 2, 3, and 4 were just a completely different fighter than that fighter in that final minute. Well, technically second to last minute, because it came right at the 1 minute mark, pretty much. I mean, the guy looked so sad on the stool. He looked like a sad puppy, like a lost puppy.
He looked like a guy who was like, I can't believe that this is how I'm fighting, but that he couldn't figure out how to change it somehow, and he was just like broken.
I fucking love his
That's kind of
corner,
the point
man.
I was going to say, that we didn't even mention the commentary and the timing of how that all ended, where they're saying, oh, he's done. It's just going to be a victory for him to get to the cards. And then you have John Anik say, that's not the cloth from which he is cut. And he can't even finish the sentence before the head kick happens. I mean, like, if that was in a movie, you'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm sure that was the commentary. And it literally is what happened. Like,
I think Joe Rogan said, I think he's going to be complacent with a win here, or with the decision here.
Yeah.
Right.
Or going to decision.
Dean Thomas kind of said so much as well when he chimed in as well.
Yeah.
And
Dude,
also,
Rogan says that, DC says, right, that's what Dean Thomas was saying. And then Anik says that's not the cloth from which he's cut.
but
Good
in the
for
and
John
also,
Anik, bro. This is what makes John Anik like that dude.
Anik,
Because
man.
while
It's the best.
everybody's like, nah, I don't know. Leon seems like he's cool. John Anik's like, I don't think he is, man. That's not Leon Edwards. And just not to toot the horn again, but just like we knew Leon Edwards had it in him, John Anik knew he had it in him.
Yeah, man.
John Anik made sure people knew before that head kick. Credit to John Anik, man. That's one of the greatest things ever.
During that minute when Leon was starting to build up his own momentum again, the commentators were saying, like, look what's happening. I think it might have been DC who was like, when Leon finally throws, it's good. Like, he's doing well.
Yeah.
And then, like, maybe 20, 30 seconds later, it happened. Good God. My God. What a fucking finish.
Dude, we have to talk about Leon Edwards' corner. Because Leon Edwards' corner, I think frankly was a big deal. I think, you know, we've heard a lot from guys like Mike Perry and stuff like that who say corners don't do shit, and, you know, they're just there to basically try to tell you what to do, and they're not in there, and this, that, and the other. And I don't necessarily disagree with him when it comes to bad corners, because we've seen bad cornering before. Mm-hmm. This cornering, though, was, I mean, it was kind of amazing to see, and it really was some movie shit, because you've got these guys in there yelling at Rocky, and I think one of the best points was, stop feeling sorry for yourself.
That was
stop feeling sorry for yourself.
Well, stop feeling sorry for yourself.
Throw your hands. Throw your hands. You got to throw your hands, Rock.
Yeah.
Like, oh, man, it was...
that corner work after the second round, after the third round, after the fourth round, that was the parts that really made it quite cinematic.
Do you know...
overhearing
Do you know when you're
stuff.
a great corner?
Don't let him bully you, son. Don't let him bully you.
Yeah, that was such a good one.
When you are at home, not a fighter, watching these things, and you are listening to this corner, and you find yourself standing up trying to fight, that's a great fucking corner, bro. You got people around the world ready to scrap for no reason.
There were
literally a Rocky movie. Like, there's so many serendipitous things of this night. The fact that this man's nickname is Rocky, and it literally played out as a Rocky movie, corner and all, is just...
I wanted to ask real quick, do we know that Leon Edwards, his nickname is Rocky because of the movie?
I don't know that.
I don't actually. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. But if it wasn't then, it's going to fucking be now.
Sure is now, man.
Yeah. I mean,
isn't Usman also, he is like the perfect, like, Apollo Creed character. Like, he's just so like picture perfect. He's so good.
Dude, even with his shirt open and everything, Jesus, now that you say it, he really is like, he really was the Apollo Creed to this man's Rocky. My God.
Yes. And he's named Rocky after Rocky, the movie.
And if you think about it, right, Usman versus Leon Edwards 1 was basically Rocky 1. Right? Rocky lost that fight in Rocky 1.
Yep.
Came back. Now we're in Rocky 2. Rocky wins the belt.
Yeah.
Now, technically, Rocky 3, we start getting into crazy territory. We don't need to get that far. But a trilogy with this fight, man, now that we don't have to deal with altitude, now that they're going to be doing it in the UK, because the altitude, I think, plays a bigger part than I think a lot of people are really giving it credit for. You know, the altitude, everybody gassed that night. Everybody gassed by like the end of the first round in a majority of those fights. The elevation was definitely an issue.
Usman trains at altitude, so he wasn't affected at all.
Right. And I think that played a lot into Rocky's. I 100% believe that played into Rockhold bullshit. But now that they're going to be doing that rematch in the UK for the trilogy fight, I'm prepared to see.
I mean, we don't know that, but we hope.
Hopefully. It seems like Dana said that he's trying to do it in the UK.
Yeah,
where in the UK is where, but
and Usman said he's down, so
I bet he is. He'd fucking go to a garage to get his belt back.
Man, I love the variety of the different kinds of corner work, man. Of course, I love it when the round breaks and you go and the camera goes to the corner and the coach gives some kind of really technical advice, and he's like, you know, when he slips to the left, you got to throw the right hand, and we're gonna go with the teep up the middle, and you're like, yeah, that's totally what he should fucking do. And then, but moments like this, when it's just like pure motivation, and he's screaming at his guy, and it just gives you fucking goosebumps, man. I love that.
The one of the best things was after that fight is over and the internet's having its fun and there's memes galore and all this stuff, and memes have been fantastic from this last event. But one of them had pictures of Trevor Whitman throughout the fight, just smiling, just this insane psycho smile. Usman gets smashed in the head, and Trevor Whitman's just teeth out. He's
happy. Amazing, man. He's amazing.
Oh my God, they made him look like the most insane human being, and I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, man, I love Trevor. He might. I don't know. I kind of think of him as the best right now. between
He's
Gaethje
up there.
and Rose and Kamaru.
Yeah.
James
some
Krause is
amazing
one of
work.
my favorite
love
coaches
Krause.
now. At this
Dude, Krause
point.
is coming up as a coach for sure.
He's got a belt now with Moreno. I know he's a recent
Yeah.
addition, but listen, that body kick I think came from Krause because I've never seen Moreno throw a body kick like that
Talking
before
about
in my life.
Moreno's body kick on Kai Kara
On Kai Kara, Kai Kara France.
All right, let's stay on topic here. This thing's going to get clipped up in an Usman Edwards clip.
Oh boy.
All right, well, we're not going to really have to talk about what's next for these guys at welterweight because most likely they're going to rematch for their third fight, probably in the UK, as we've been alluding to. So that being said, anything else you guys want to talk about of this amazing main event of UFC 278?
Yeah, I would just say, obviously, we got to do it. Kamaru was 15-0 in the UFC, defended his belt, like 5 times, I think?
Something like that.
5 times? 5 times?
5-6 times.
He's already beaten Leon before. It's a trilogy. He was 1 minute away from beating him again. Obviously, we got to do the rematch. In the meantime, I know you have the Chimaev hype train in full motion. But if he thrashes Nate, then you can just take assuming if Bilal gets by Sean Brady, you've got a great fight right there, just waiting in the wings for the winner of that. So I don't think the division gets messed up by them having to fight again. I think it's very easy to say, Chimaev, you're not getting a title shot right now off Nate. You got to do one more, and you pair up him and Bilal and go from there. Or, I mean, if Bilal loses, obviously there's other options, but that feels like the cleanest way that this thing could work itself out.
Yeah, man. Omar, you have anything to say about that?
I think the rematch needs to happen. The dude was millimeters away from tying Anderson Silva's record, and now that will probably never come to pass at this point. So definitely needs to happen. And like I said, I want as much as people, I don't either count the elevation or care about the elevation. I kind of hate the elevation because it's always going to be like a little
I always
asterisk.
think that, dude. I wish we just didn't do fights in places with elevation.
Yeah, and it's not like Salt Lake, Utah was like the place you had to go. The most hilarious thing was
popping though in Salt Lake. The
most hilarious thing was so Leon Edwards had never heard of Utah before in his life before this event.
Really, that's so funny.
Never, he'd never. I mean, it's not that crazy. I mean, I guarantee you, we've never heard of half of the UK places, right?
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
So he's never heard of Salt Lake City, Utah, and Ariel asks him, tell me how many black people you've seen in here. He's like, none. He's like, I think I saw one in the mall the other day while we were shopping, but that was about it. And they were like, do they know what you're doing over there? I was like, they know now. I've been telling everybody I see. It's like, all right.
That's so funny.
That's great.
All right, boys. Well, let's move on into the co-main event of UFC 278, in which, in the middleweight division, Paulo Costa defeated Luke Rockhold by unanimous decision. 30-27s across the board. Omar, let me throw it over to you first this time. What was your assessment? What are your thoughts of Costa getting it done over Luke Rockhold, retiring him in the process? It was kind of a sloppy one from start to finish, pretty much.
It was. Again, I think altitude played its part in this because Costa didn't even look that fantastic considering Rockhold was like moments from death for like the last 2 rounds. So, it's not like Costa put on that much of a spectacular dominating performance in that respect. To be fair, Rockhold is a tough motherfucker, and that dude never went away. Kept throwing shots. I can only imagine the kind of pain he was in if he was really that gassed to have his hands on his knees in the middle of a fight. Yeah. But the dude still kept throwing when he could. He just doesn't look like he can take shots the same way because it wasn't even like a chin issue so much as just a durability issue. I think he threw 1 question mark kick in that whole fight. That man should be relying on those question mark kicks. He will kill somebody with
They're
that.
nasty.
They really are. And he doesn't throw enough of them, and I don't understand why. But listen, man, he got into a street fight in there. He got into a good old street fight. That was not a technical fight, I think, by any stretch of the imagination from either side. And he got into a good old war. Costa got a little banged up. Rockhold got a lot more banged up. And Costa went away with this, a very, very unanimous decision. And a sad goodbye from Rockhold. He's given us a lot of great fights. I think one of the first fights I ever saw him in was in Strikeforce. I remember the Tim Kennedy fight like it was yesterday, because that was, I think, the first time where I really saw his level of fighter on display. You know, he had whooped somebody right before then, and I can't remember who it was. But I actually think that 5-round decision where he really out-fought Tim Kennedy was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen, because Tim Kennedy especially then, was an absolute beast. Mm-hmm. You know, and then he's got the Costa Philippou. He went on this crazy-ass tear. You know, the infamous spinning back kick counter off of Chris Weidman to win the belt. And then Bisping ruined his life. And his shit has never been the same since Bisping.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Bisping probably sleeps at night somewhat content with that. Because it's Bisping. But, yeah, man, Luke Rockhold had a fantastic career. He should definitely not be sad about anything. Another little tidbit, all of the reign of the AKA champions has officially ended. All AKA champions that we knew have officially retired. Kane, Khabib, DC, and now Rockhold.
Dude, I saw DC post a picture of all of them in the octagon when Luke had the belt on his waist, and it's like him, Javier Mendez, Khabib, DC. I forget there was a fifth person. I forget who that would have been. But they're lined up in the octagon, and DC's comment was, "When we were kings." And I literally had like a split second of like being emotional, and I was like, "All right, Mark, like getting together."
Like you freaking trained at AKA.
Like I was just like, "Oh man, like that time is gone. Like what a great time in MMA that was, and it's
That was
gone."
a sick team, dude. Sick
It
team.
It's the end of an era. It really is the end of an era.
Oh, Kane, but Kane wasn't in that picture, I don't think. But obviously Kane as well.
Yeah, Kane and Khabib, DC, Rockhold. Those are the guys. They were running shit when they were around, and all that's done now.
Yeah, man. Wonder what's going to be next for Mr. Rockhold. But Mark, let's hear your thoughts on the outcome of Costa versus Rockhold.
Yeah, this thing was nuts from start to finish, and I loved every single second of it. I would love to see what Luke could have done if he didn't gas before the first round even ended, because he honestly looked good, like skill-wise. Like I was like, damn, this man is dangerous as hell. But he just, I don't know if it was the years off or the altitude, as we've said, or the busted nose that happened early, or a combo of all of those things. But he was dead by the time the bell rang after round one. I mean, he was dead. And to his credit, he stood in there and he scrapped for 10 more minutes, hurt Costa, went for it the whole time. And people forget, even I forget, because Luke can be KO'd. So you think about his chin, he's not durable. But as long as he's awake, that man is a dog. He has zero quit unless you put him out. And he showed it again in this one. On the Costa side, what an animal that man is. First of all, he came in incredible shape, insane shape. Shut a lot of people up after what he pulled against Vettori. And he deserved all the shit he got, but this was a nice statement from him. He absolutely ate everything Luke threw at him, and there were some big shots. He hurt Luke multiple times. He put on a show. He shows off some very improved grappling, which makes him really interesting going forward, if that's going to be a new aspect of his game. And he gets a big noteworthy win here to kind of throw himself right back in the middleweight mix, despite having lost 2 in a row prior to this. I feel like there's a big fight coming up for him, despite those 2 losses, just off of this win. And then lastly, I love that the last memory Luke gives us of himself before riding off into the sunset is to rub his bloody face all over another man's face, just as a classic Luke Rockhold fuck you.
Oh my God. That was a memorable moment for sure.
And if that didn't seal the deal, the next day on Instagram, he posts a video of him cracking Costa in the face while he's dead tired with the caption, "You're still a bitch."
Yeah, I saw that too.
I loved it. Loved it.
Wow, a little salty there.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say those guys don't like each other.
Yeah, I guess not. I thought Costa did he deserves the credit for turning it into a Paulo Costa fight. I mean, Costa is a brawler, and he's pretty much everyone except for Izzy. he manages to pull them into the quicksand pit with him. And he just fucks you up because he has so much power. He has a great chin. He's a tank. He ate some huge shots from Rockhold, man. Rockhold's a killer.
Yeah.
And Costa just ate it. And credit to him, man. I would be very interested to see him climb right back up into the upper echelon of middleweight to see what he can do again. Possibly another shot at the belt. Because he looked great.
I wish
Speaking of,
Rockhold would have went out with not an altitude issue. I wish he would have given himself a real opportunity to have a real fight.
I think it was also he apparently had a broken nose in the first round.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about.
And he was like, he was breathing through his mouth, like huge open mouth breathing. He was kind of like making this like awful face the whole fight.
His poker face is also completely fucking destroyed.
Right. So yeah, I think he had to immediately start mouth breathing when his nose was broken. I think he immediately went to that sort of fight or flight mode. He couldn't stay calm in there, and I think his heart rate probably went up, and he just gassed terribly.
Yeah,
I agree, but like also guys don't learn about the altitude. Like even on Embedded, he was like, "Yeah, got out here a week early to adjust to the altitude." Like
you gotta be there
that
like
is not enough. Like, have we not learned? You were on Kane's team when he pulled the shit in Mexico City where Cardio Kane died. Like I don't know how fighters haven't learned this yet. Like if you are fighting in a city with altitude, you are moving there 1 month prior. I don't want to hear anything less than that.
At
1
least.
month prior.
If it's the co-main event of a UFC pay-per-view, I would say at least a month.
Yeah, like even Leon only went 2 weeks before.
Yeah, that could have been part of it for him.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it plays a factor, and we'll find out with the rematch. But to say it had no effect at all, I don't think Leon would have gassed by the end of the first round. I think that's crazy.
So many guys on the card throughout the whole night.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark, I'm throwing it back to you. Put on your matchmaker's hat. We obviously aren't going to discuss where Rockhold goes from here because he is laying down the gloves. But let's talk about Costa. Middleweight has a nice win. He looked great. If you're the matchmaker of the UFC, what would you want to be doing with Paulo Costa next?
I got one name and one name only, and that name is Robert Whittaker.
Ooh.
I don't even care if he wins or loses. I know he's fighting Vettori. If he beats Vettori, I don't think he's getting a title shot again already. He's going to need something to do. I think him and Costa would be incredible. If Vettori beats him, I don't think they're going to make Vettori fight Costa again. He just beat him. So, hey, Costa's coming off 2 losses right before this win. Doesn't matter that Whittaker's coming off a loss. I'm still making that fight. Either way, I'm going Paulo Costa versus Robert Whittaker.
Omar, agree, disagree, or any other names?
I'm going to throw another name out just because I want to be spicy. I think if you want to get a little crazy, and with Costa coming back, I personally, as much as the fight was enjoyable, I was not impressed by his performance, and I think that Andre Muniz could put it on this boy.
Oh wow!
I might be a little wild here, but I think it could be done, and I think it'd be fun to watch. So I think we catapult Andre Muniz and see what happens.
Wow.
You know who he'd also be very interesting for? If Izzy was to beat Pereira.
I thought
about it. That would be a wild bounce back fight for Pereira.
I thought about it. The only thing is that fight happens in November. So you'd have to wait. You have to make Costa wait until November, and then if Alex Pereira gets out of there healthy, then maybe another 2-3 months after that.
No, I agree. Which is the main reason I said Whittaker, because he's about to be fighting in a week.
Yeah. And Muniz doesn't have shit to do right now, so it'll be even sooner.
Yep.
Well, that's that. Let's keep marching down this card. In the bantamweight division, Merab Dvalishvili defeated the great Jose Aldo by unanimous decision, as I predicted last week, which was the one that I got right. 29-28, 29-28, and 30-27 on the scorecards. Gentlemen, Omar, let me throw it over to you first this time. What was your assessment and your thoughts following Merab's kind of domination of Jose in a way?
Domination
Disagree.
is a really
Okay, I love it.
strong fucking word there, Mike.
Okay.
This fight was a snooze fest.
It was a Merab fight. That's what I mean. He
No,
Merab.
It wasn't.
No,
You don't think so?
No.
So much grappling, so much clinch.
Merab is
no
so
pace.
effective in the clinch. Merab beats the shit out of people in the clinch.
Yeah.
Merab is not this hold people against. He's
Yeah,
not
you're
an Aldo. He
I
doesn't
get
hold
it. I
people
get
against
you.
the cage and knee people in the fucking thigh. That's not his game. That's Aljo's game. Merab takes no shade. That's Aljo's game. Merab takes people down. Merab ground and pounds these fucking people. Merab out scrambles people. And what does Aldo do? Aldo stays off the ground. Aldo pressures people. Aldo throws solid shots at people. Aldo knees people. Aldo hopefully sometimes kicks people in the goddamn leg. None of these things occurred in this fight from either side. And it was super frustrating. It's like, Jose Aldo's out here getting held up against the cage and yawning and shit. And yeah, like I get it. We're bored too, but one of y'all have to do something, whether it's Merab actually having to try to secure this takedown and not, stomping your foot or whatever such nonsense, or Aldo trying to turn off the cage or something like that. Again, I think the altitude played into it because Aldo's already had issues with cardio in the past. Usually we don't see that happen until he hits championship rounds, though, which is what I thought was going to be the case. It definitely was not. But this wasn't a fight, dude. This was... You can't tell me by the... Aldo's definitely had cardio issues in the past.
No, I'm saying in this fight, you thought he had cardio issues?
I thought it was fine.
I did.
Fine.
They were just clinched the whole fight.
Yeah,
But-
I didn't think he
but-
looked tired.
But there was no... Aldo is one of the most explosive human beings on that roster.
That's true.
There was no explosion at any
There
point.
weren't very many moments for him to explode.
I disagree.
Morab was on him. Morab was
But
on
that's
him.
that's when you explode. That's when Aldo explodes. There's a reason why people don't clinch with Aldo. There's a reason why people don't take Aldo down and keep him down, because they fucking can't. Right. Aldo bounces up like he's a goddamn rocket. Like his hips hit the floor, they come right back up. Merab didn't even have that chance, number one, and never really tried to go for takedowns like that. It was just, he felt like as long as he can control Aldo and not get hit, he was going to win the fight, and he was content winning the fight like that. And that sucked. That really sucked.
Mark, what was your take?
My theme is suck, so nice word. Segue, thank you. Into me. This fight sucked in a lot of different ways. It sucked, of course, because we had this huge fight, possibly to determine the next man to fight for the belt, and we got a snooze fest. It sucked, especially for me, as a huge fan of Jose, because it ended this title run that he seemed to be on, especially one where I really thought he matched up really well with Aldo and could possibly take this belt. It sucked because, in a way, it managed to dim the star of both men, despite Merab getting the W. But mainly it sucked because this is the worst of what can happen in MMA, which is that you get a big fight that you're all excited to watch, and one man beats the other despite never, ever coming close to remotely hurting him in the entire fight. It's just not what MMA is supposed to be. I don't think Aldo ever even said ow in the whole fight. And neither did Merab. I mean, maybe a couple nice knees Aldo landed, but it's just tough to take in a fight that's that big, and it's both of their fault. Merab was content to lean against the cage and stay somewhat safe from Aldo's strikes and hope that the control and the small strikes would win the cards for him, which is not something we are used to ever seeing from Merab. The guy is like a fucking Tasmanian devil, and instead we get this, which really was just super disappointing that he was content to do that. And then on the flip side, Jose fights fine in round one. I thought he won round one. And then round two, it kind of shifts. He's still fighting okay, but I think he loses round two. I think everyone did. And then you have Andre in his corner telling him that he's up 2-0 and that no one is going to give Merab that round unless they like stalling. And because of that, Jose comes out and fights a super tentative round three where he doesn't even try to push it because he thinks he's up 2-0. And that's Andre's fault, and that's Jose Aldo's fault, because you can't come out and coast like that just because your coach said something. Like, ask yourself, are you sure you won round 2? Because barely anything fucking happened in round 2. So, yeah, okay, your coach just said it to you. But how sure can you be? Like, you can't just come out and... He literally sleepwalked through round 3. Like, you can't be doing that. And, like, if Merab was just standing there holding Jose against the cage in round 2, that's one thing. But the man landed, like, 25 knees to Aldo's legs. Like, those count. I don't know why some coaches and fighters tend to think that those don't count. Like, they certainly do count. And they counted enough to win round 2 because nothing else really happened. So... frankly, Jose blew it in what I feel was a very winnable matchup for him, to the point that if they were to fight again tomorrow, I would still pick Jose because I think that he fights that fight with a much different style, much more aggressive, and I still think he matches up really well with Merab and that he would win the fight. But he blew it. And, I mean, his takedown D, despite the loss, has got to be the most impenetrable takedown D that we've ever seen. Like, I'm trying to think of someone else. The guy is fucking unreal. You cannot get him on the ground.
Yeah.
But
Rob was what, like 0 for 15 or something that night? Something crazy?
Yeah. But he blew it. He fought lazy and relaxed and dumb and enjoyed thinking he was winning when he wasn't because maybe he had coaches in his ear or who knows what. But he wasn't winning. And then Merab, as I say, he gets this big showcase against the legend, and yeah, he gets a win, but no one's clamoring for a Merab title shot after that one. And I know he won't fight Aldo anyway, but say TJ wins. That shot could have been Merab's, and now there's no way it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, it's super frustrating. He's 0 for 16 in that fight, by the way.
The takedowns?
The takedowns.
It's unreal. I mean, I know we're bashing Aldo a little bit right now, but the takedown D is nothing. You never see anything like it in your life.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what Aldo is known for. Aldo is known for not being able to take him down. But at the same time, Aldo did nothing to stop Merab from trying, right? Like, he would get him against the cage and Aldo would just stay there. We've seen even young fighters turn people off the cage when they get stuck in situations like this. And Aldo is the veteran of veterans, and like, he can't do shit to get Merab off the cage. And what's worse is he thinks that because Merab's not doing anything to him, whether we want to argue that or not, that he wins the round automatically.
No.
What in the hell?
I mean, you can't take 25 knees to your thigh while you do nothing and act like it was an even stalemate. Like you're down 25 strikes to 0 in that.
And being against the cage, though, for all intents and purposes, is essentially being on the bottom of a ground position. And if you're not doing anything to change that position, you lose. It's a boring ass fight, but control would always go to Merab in that situation. It's never going to the guy against the cage, and you lose. So I don't understand where the confusion came from in their camp. Yeah, I had the Willy Wonka thing in my head.
Yeah, clinch can very often be the most boring position in MMA.
For sure. And when I'm scoring fights, I don't reward it heavily if there's significant action that is happening otherwise. But there wasn't.
Nothing else
so you
happened.
have nothing else to score.
Yeah, it's subjective, but you're right. It's the guy who has his back against the cage is usually the one who's losing that exchange.
I'll tell you right now, if Merab had held him against the cage and Aldo was throwing knees and like lifting, Merab up with these knees, but Merab was not giving up his control and just Aldo was just on the cage, just throwing knees, landing knees to the body, one would argue Aldo won that round. That shit is not what happened. And it's just, you can hear the frustration in my voice because both of them are way better than what they showed in that fight. And it's really sad that this is where we're at, because now Aldo's talking about potentially retiring, that now that was his last title shot. He wants to go out on that performance.
Oh,
dude, that shit, it's the whole thing is just crazy to me. This fight really upset the shit out of me.
I wish with fights like that we could just be like, no. Where's the next Paris? You guys get on a plane, going to Paris. We just added you to that card. We're gonna have to figure this out better than that.
Do it again. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's talk about where Merab might go from here, since he is the winner, and he does have a big name on his record now, and Jose Aldo, in spite of the snooze fest. Mark, put on the matchmaker hat once again. Where would you go next with Dvalishvili?
So we talked about last week, obviously, if Aldo won this fight, we thought he'd be getting the next shot against the Aldo TJ winner. And then we also talked about if Merab won, how suddenly the options open up. I do not think Merab is in the running for a title shot. I don't think there's any way he gets one off of that win. So now the options become only your boy Cheeto and the winner of Jan O'Malley. if it's super impressive. So I think that where Merab sits right now is that he's just fighting whoever doesn't get it. You know, if Sean O'Malley knocks out Petr Yan in round 1, maybe they're like, holy shit, Sean O'Malley, push him to the moon, he's getting the title shot. I think we get Merab Cheeto. If the winner of that O'Malley-Yan fight is not super impressive, I think Cheeto's going to walk into a title shot, and I think Merab will fight the winner of that other fight.
Okay. Any other suggestions, Omar?
Maybe it's because I'm emotional right now. Maybe it's because I feel petty right now. I'm not really sure. But I want to give Nope. I want to give Corey Sandhagen a shot at Merab. Right.
He's fighting Song Yadong first. Soon, I think.
That? It is soon. It's in less than a month. Okay, if Corey Sandhagen wins that fight, which is very possible, Song Yadong is still a big threat. But if he wins that fight, I think he should fight Merab. That's my take.
Fair.
Like it. All right, gentlemen. Let's throw the remainder.
Hang on. I want to match up Jose as well.
I thought what if he's retiring? Go for it.
No, he's not. You think he's really retiring?
I just read those quotes that Merab
he might have just been emotional. It's possible he might have been emotional.
I think that was some post-fight. That would break my fucking heart if that happened. My God, it better not happen. I'm not prepared for that.
You heard what he said to Merab, though, right?
Yeah, he said he was done.
But he said it because he was saying this was his last shot at the title. Now it's over. I think.
Well, that boy ain't going to fight unless he's going to fight for a title.
I think Dana's mindset is going to be in a similar place to my mindset, which is that was not any loss of like Jose Aldo's run being over because of any way he looked in that fight. I don't think it made you think in any way he can't still beat these guys at the top. It was just a weird-ass fight. Mm-hmm. You saw the way he was received by a crowd in fucking Utah like a goddamn rock star.
He's a legend. Living legend.
Jose Aldo. Can't speak. Hold on.
Mark's getting emotional.
Jose Aldo is far from over promotionally. I'm dying. There we go. If it's me, and I really do think Dana is probably in a similar place how he's looking at this, I am attempting to give Aldo a springboard to immediately re-enter this title conversation, and I'm going to take the loser of Aljamain Sterling and TJ Dillashaw and put them across from Jose Aldo.
Holy shit. That's crazy.
So you're saying the loser of the title fight is going to fight Jose?
Yeah.
Why?
I was going to say, that might be even more crazy than me punishing Merab.
Well, I don't understand. Why is this crazy for them to fight a top 5 guy if they lose?
So who would you give Merab? The winner of Petr Yan O'Malley?
Or Cheeto, depending who gets the title shot.
Okay.
And then you give Aldo.
Wouldn't you need to be matching up the loser of Dillashaw and Aljo with someone else who just lost in the top 5?
Yeah, I'm just thinking somebody here gets lost in the mix, though. It's either going to be Marlon Merab or Jose end up getting lost in this top 5 mix here.
Look at it. Say Aljo wins, right? Mm-hmm. You have Aljo Cheeto. Mm-hmm. You do TJ Aldo. And then you have Merab against the winner of O'Malley and Yan.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Fair enough.
I got you.
Man, we might finally get...
Okay.
Come on, son, don't doubt me.
We might finally get an Aldo TJ fight, which I would love to see.
Still want the Aldo Cruz.
It might be bold, but it's what I'm doing.
Okay.
I still want Aldo Cruz, and now that Aldo has lost, it's still a thing.
They could do that, too. They could do that,
too. It's still a thing.
That's your pick? Aldo Cruz?
Wouldn't shock me.
I mean, we talked about it before. I still think that fight needs to happen before they both retire. I mean, I think it's crazy that it hasn't. But
which one do you want more? If you got told only one can happen, you get to see Aldo Cruz or Frankie Cruz. Which one do you pick?
I'm going Frankie Cruz all day.
I am too.
I think it would just be a better fight. They're better matched up at this point.
Yeah, I think it's more interesting stylistically.
And I'm more torn on who wins. I would be picking Aldo to beat Cruz.
I think Aldo's too big, even it's still at 135.
Same.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Okay, guys, ready for the lightning round?
Ready as we'll ever be.
Let's do it.
I might have a couple in this lightning round that I extend slightly because I want people's takes on things. But we really don't have many previews this week, so we're going to be all right.
I fucking think we know where we're going to have a little stop, a little pit stop. This fucking guy.
Okay, here we go.
We'll get there.
lightning round. Still in the main card of UFC 278 in the women's bantamweight division, Lucia Pudlova defeated Wu Yanan by TKO. 4 minutes, 4 seconds of round number 2. Omar, go first.
So during the weigh-ins, I was not a huge fan of this Pudlova girl. Got all up in this Wu Yanan girl's face. Got real wild, forehead on forehead. And when the fight was going on, I was like, beat her ass, Wu Yanan. Didn't happen. That Pudlova girl beat the shit out of Wu Yanan. The ground and pound was disgusting. I'm very interested to see where this girl goes next. Hopefully she can stop putting hands on people during the weigh-ins and just save it for the cage, because the cage is where she needs to save it for. That was a
cage
great
where you make all the money, all the dollars.
Especially
Mark.
like that. That could be 50 G's right there, baby.
Go, Mark.
Good Lord. Those were some savage elbows from Lucia Pudlova. That is one way to welcome yourself back to the UFC. I know her first run did not go great. I believe she was 2-5, I want to say, in her first UFC run. But she is 5-1 since leaving the UFC. Wow. And we see now she has clearly improved her grappling in her time away, because she was basically a striker in her initial UFC run. And I'm not saying she's going to be a title contender or anything, but if she is as well-rounded now as she appeared to be in that fight, she will definitely have a place in a bantamweight division that is not super deep. So we will see what she does next.
Okay, in the light heavyweight division, Tyson Pedro defeated Harry Hunsucker by TKO via nasty body kick and punches. 1 minute, 5 seconds of round number 1. Marco first.
I forget if I said it on this show or if I just said this to a friend, but I said that Harry Hunsucker's job that night was to be a sacrifice to Tyson Pedro.
That was here. That was here.
Boy, was that ever accurate. I mean, Pedro just destroyed that man.
Pedro's nasty, man.
I almost felt like Tyson Pedro was like, oh, that's it? That's all you got? Like, all right. But yeah, that's 2-0 for Pedro now since returning, and we don't need any more warm-up fights. We don't need any more Harry Hunsuckers. Let's get him in there with somebody fun, somebody relevant.
Omar.
I 100% agree. Tyson Pedro has another notch on his belt. That was as disgusting a TKO as it comes. You already know I'm a Tyson Pedro fan. I'm on board, been on board, have always been on board. There was a long hiatus there, but here we go. We're moving like we never stopped. Tyson fucking Pedro, let's go.
Okay, moving down into the prelims on ESPN, ESPN Plus, and ABC. In the heavyweight division, Marcin Tybura defeats Alexander Romanov by a majority decision. One judge scored it even, 28-28, and the other two judges gave Tybura the fight, 29-28. Omar, go first.
I wish I would have watched this fight again. I meant to watch this fight over, and I really did get a chance to, because when I first saw this fight, I had Alexander Romanov winning 2 of those rounds. I seemed to be in the minority. It didn't even look like Romanov thought he won 2 out of the 3 rounds by the time the fight was over. And I know, Mark, you had Tybura winning. What was it, 1-3 or 2-1-2?
I had 10-8 for Romanov in round 1, and Tybura winning the next 2. I'll tell you when I get to my point here.
Yeah. I will say this. I thought it was a crazy-ass fight. These guys are huge, huge dudes. Romanov was an absolute monster in the very beginning. His ability to take people down and the way he can control them, especially these huge guys, I think is fantastic. Again, I wonder if the altitude played into it just a little bit. Romanov looked super disappointed by the time that fight was over, but it's just a wild fight between 2 gigantic men.
Okay, Mark.
I really want you to rewatch this fight. I hated these scorecards, especially since it handed Romanov the first loss of his whole career. I think you cannot give a guy his first loss on a fucked up decision like that. If you rewatch this fight and you do not score it, round 1, 10-8 Romanov, round 2 Tybura, round 3 Tybura for a 28-28 draw, I will literally be in complete and utter shock and will probably pay you some sort of money for how wrong I am. That's how positive I am that that's how you'd score this fight. And 80% of MMA decisions scored this fight as a draw for what it's worth.
There you have it.
Round 1 was a 10-8 round. It was 3 slams for Romanov, maybe 40 strikes, 20 of which were hard strikes, and a full round of control to nothing. 0 things. Tibura didn't even land a strike. He had 0 strikes. It was a complete shutout. It has to be a 10-8. Tibura wins round 2. He wins round 3 even more clearly. It's 28-28. But with all that being said, as much as I hate Romanov getting his first loss when I don't believe it should have been a loss, he is going to need to figure out his cardio. Maybe this was an altitude issue, a Salt Lake City issue. Who knows? But the dude is unreal. If you look at what he did to Marcin Tybura in round 1 of that fight, he treated Marcin Tybura like he was nothing. Again, like I said, 0 strikes. He picked him up and slammed him 3 different times. He was pummeling him. Tybura was useless in round 1. And then Romanov has nothing left for the next 2 rounds and manages to end up losing a fight because of the way it got scored. So the talent in Romanov is absolutely tremendous. Again, maybe that was just a Salt Lake City issue, but he has to address that cardio because the talent is too good to waste.
Facts.
Okay.
And credit to Marcin Tybura for dealing with that first round, even mentally dealing with it the way he got dominated and coming back and actually getting a win.
Okay, in the featherweight division, Sean Woodson defeats Luis Saldana by split decision, earning a... Wait a second. It was a split draw. I'm sorry.
Yep.
By split draw, 28-28 on one scorecard, and each of these gentlemen got their own 29-28. Mark, take it first.
What a weird fight this was.
A stupid fight.
First off, right off the bat, I don't think they got it right. I actually think Sean Woodson won rounds 2 and 3 of that fight, and therefore should have won it 29-27, because round 1 was a 9-9 because Saldana lost a point. But I didn't think it was egregious. Like, I'll live with it. They were close enough rounds. However, I have 2 scoring questions to pose to the group that I'm curious about. This is the one I said I was going to go long on. Mm-hmm. First off, Saldana hurts Woodson bad, like almost out bad, 2 different times in round 1. But then Woodson is okay and competitive for the final 2 minutes. In your books, does that mean it has to be 10-9 since he was competitive for the last 2 minutes? Or do you still consider it 10-8 since he almost went out 2 different times?
If it was... So, I consider it a 10-9. I want to consider it a 10-8. I think that's what should make rounds 10-8. If you get dropped multiple times...
I have the exact same take.
If you get dropped multiple times, it should be a 10-8. Like, that's... to me, that's the way that
But where we are today,
work.
that's a 10-9, right?
It's
Is that what you're saying? I feel the same.
Yeah.
That's why I was curious. Mike, what's your take on that?
I am in favor for more liberal judging scores and a little bit more liberal with giving out 10-8s. So I'm kind of leaning 10-8.
Fair, because if that was a 10-8 and then Saldana loses the point, he still wins that round 9-8, which would have been very relevant, but I guess no one gave him that. And then, secondly, in the second round, Saldana is up a bit before he gets put in that buggy choke. Like, let's just pretend it was only a 2-minute round. It had just started. Say Saldana lands one nice right hand, gets the takedown, he's on top. So he's up a bit, right? Right hand and a takedown. Then he gets put in that buggy choke for a minute and a half. He's in it. He's trapped the whole minute and a half. He can't get out, but he's fine. He's giving thumbs up. How do you score that? Who do you give that to?
It's subjective, man. Judging's so hard sometimes.
It's hard. I was watching that round. I'm like, fuck, I don't know how to score that round. Yeah. I wanted to say I got to give it to Woodson because he just kept him in a choke for a minute and a half.
Yeah.
But Saldana's giving thumbs up and he's totally fine. And I'm like, I don't know how I should be scoring it.
I wonder if, because I think one of the things that we find with submissions that we tend to give the rounds for submission attempts and things like that tend to be ones that are really close, ones that people keep adjusting and keep trying to go for. And I wonder if it's not just the submission attempt itself, but the continuous advancement of that choke, right? Or whatever the submission is. I think at some point, if you just hold something, I think it loses value.
It becomes holding, yeah. That's
right. It loses value. Like if you're not. So for example, this buggy choke in the position that he was in he was never going to get it like that, right? So something needed to change. Whether it was the angle of his body,
because Rogan seemed to think he might be getting it.
in that specific position, he wasn't going to get it. He still needed to adjust something, whether it was his legs, the angle of his body, the position of his arms, because the buggy choke, the way the buggy choke is set up, and for those of you who don't know what it is, I would recommend looking it up online because it's weird as hell to describe, but it's essentially a modified reverse triangle that you do from side control bottom. And so he's essentially got his legs from the bottom position wrapped around dude's neck in sort of a reverse triangle position, but he's also using his arm as leverage on basically a leverage on the back of his neck so that there's pressure coming from both angles. If he doesn't have it and it's not working, at what point do you say that an advancement needs to happen or some sort of change adjustment needs to happen before you stop giving this the same value? Right? I think at some point it does become holding. Like even omoplatas and Kimuras and stuff too.
If that's the case, then I would be changing my take that Woodson should have won, and I would say a draw was the right score. Because if you're giving Saldana that round, if you're not crediting that buggy choke that much, Saldana would have taken that round.
Because at the end of the day, it really depends on how much danger he was in. And holding doesn't really necessarily mean danger. Holding just means, at best, control. So
but he's trapped. He is trapped.
Sure, he is trapped.
What do you
significant
think,
to me? I feel like any kind of hold or choke position, to me, is even worse than having your back taken. It's like you've gotten yourself into this situation where your opponent has your neck, and you're not getting out, even if it's not. And it's subjective. Like even if it's not close, and you're giving thumbs up, fine. If you're giving thumbs up, fine, but hey, you still got your neck taken, dude.
It's
and,
definitely
you got
worse
yourself
than
in that
back,
position.
That's for certain.
But do we credit the 1 minute that this man had him in the buggy choke versus the 4 minutes that Saldana was still putting in work?
But he wasn't up much, is my point. That's what I was trying to say. Like he was up a bit. Like
the work rate definitely went down from round. Like I think he blew his wad in round 1 after he started cheering and all that
was
stuff.
My last point I was going to fucking make. I was saving that one.
Yeah. So let me get into it because this kid's a fucking idiot.
Well, let me just say before you go, I would love to know what the hell he was doing in round 1 because
he
could have ended that himself. Fight he kneeled down, like he was pointing at Woodson and then he kneeled down and waited for Woodson to get up. Like what the fuck are you doing? Now you may go.
And he like borderline soccer kicks this kid in the face.
Oh, that too, yeah.
I mean that was the one that for me, like, we've seen people play around in the cage and do dumb shit and you know give up opportunities that are obviously right there for them to exploit. That is what it is. We call him a dumbass and we move on. This kid not only gave up an opportunity, but then also proceeded to slowly and very purposefully kick this kid in the face while he's down on the ground.
Need him.
The fight stops. The referee is obviously livid. And I forget, what's this dude's name? The guy with the handlebar mustache?
It was,
handlebar beard?
Oh my God.
Beltran.
Yeah.
And so Beltran is not having this kid's shit. And he just starts going off on him. Takes a point off, and I don't understand what the hell's going on in that. That kid really thought he was good, that was not a problem. Like he jumped on the cage, celebrating, having a great old time. His corner is like disgusted with him, with his like lack of focus and like him playing around in the cage.
Bro, Woodson was nearly unconscious twice separate times.
Yep.
And both times he was like, gotcha. Like, bro, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, bro. Like, yeah. It was another one of those upsetting moments. Because more so than anything because the next 2 rounds were not nearly as entertaining as that first round. From either side. And, you know, credit to Woodson for even being able to go 2 more rounds after getting knocked down like that.
Hey guys.
What I missed.
Look what I made. Okay,
this is fair. We were
talking about
officially
prelim featherweight bout for fucking 10 minutes.
Sometimes you take a detour and you just can't find your way back to the road.
Should I do this thing where if you guys are going on, I'm just like,
It might not be a bad idea.
It starts getting higher and higher on the screen.
For those of
That
you
lowers.
listening to the audio version, Mike is showing us a lightning symbol on a postcard. He's not having our shit right now.
okay. Congrats to both of the gentlemen for drawing.
Great combo. Loved it.
Okay, let's fucking go. Okay. In the welterweight division, Ange Losa defeated AJ Fletcher by
Mike,
unanimous.
did you skip one, bud?
Yeah, you skipped
Sean
Jared
Woodson,
Gordon,
Saldana.
Leonardo
Skip
Santos.
Gordon and Santos.
Oh, I
think?
skipped my boy Jared Gordon. I've talked to Jared Gordon before. He's a nice guy. My bad. Lightweight bout. My guy, Jared Flash Gordon, gets it done. Defeats Leonardo Santos by UD 30-27, all three cards. Mark, go first.
I think I can speed it up for the rest of these. I think we can officially say at this point that Leonardo Santos' time as a factor in the UFC has passed. I was a fan of his in the past. He unfortunately never was active enough when he was at his most dangerous, and he could have had a better run than he did, but he's now 41. You can tell some of the skills are starting to fade. The speed is going pretty badly. And Jared Gordon did exactly what he should do against a fighter who's kind of lost the danger aspect of him in Leo Santos. So nice win for Jared Gordon.
Omar, go.
Jared Gordon's fun, man. There's something about him that's super interesting where he doesn't seem like he's amazing anywhere, but he's still good everywhere. And it's working for him. I've enjoyed him. And you know, he's really got some nice sort of life, you know, positive lifestyle mentality things that he likes to pass along, which I'm always about. So good win for Jared Gordon. Happy for him.
All right, in the welterweight division, Ange Losa defeats AJ Fletcher by unanimous decision, 29-28, all three. Omar, take it.
Bro, this is definitely altitude. I was really hoping to see AJ Fletcher put things together, and I thought he had a really solid first round. He looked really good. And then the man looked like he was gasping for any bit of oxygen that his body would take in. He looked like breathing was the most impossible thing he could do in that moment, apart from fighting. The next two rounds were super difficult for AJ. He toughed him out. Angelusa survived some real shit in the first round.
You got your rounds off, man. That was the second round. Fletcher almost murdered him in the second round. It was only the third where Fletcher was dead.
Was it the second round?
Yeah, Ange won the first round, and then Fletcher almost murdered him in the second round.
I thought it was the first round. Well,
No.
Fletcher really did he had a moment in that fight there for a minute. But man, he was completely dead by the end of that fight, and it looked really, really bad. It was a crazy banger of a fight, though. Credit to Lusa for sticking it out and getting the UD.
Yeah, this one was a friggin' war. They were scrapping from the time the ref said go. Losa did take round one. In round two, AJ Fletcher gets about as close as you can get to finishing someone as you can possibly get. But he couldn't find that sweet spot to have the ref jump in. Like every time it looked like it's about to be over right now, Losa just separated or blocked something just in time. And like there was like 3-4 different times it seemed like that sweet spot was going to hit, and it just never hit. Ref never jumped in. And Losa, to his credit, he toughed it out. And then as Omar touched on, Fletcher just had nothing left after the barrage that he tried to put on in round two. He gets dominated in round three, and Losa gets himself a real big win.
Whew. All right, going down into the early prelims in the flyweight division, Amir Albazi defeats Francisco Figueiredo by submission via rear naked choke. 4 minutes, 34 seconds of the very first round. Mark, take it.
So Amir Albazi is legit. Like, it's time to give this guy someone in the top 10 with a name. He has handled everyone he's across from. He has one loss in his whole career, and it's to Jose Torres, who, if you might remember, is one of those guys who was in the UFC at the time where they cut like every flyweight, and it didn't make any sense. He was one of those guys. He's a guy who still only has one loss in his career to Alex Perez, so it shows you the level of a guy that beat Albazi. And other than that, he hasn't lost to a single man. He's the real deal. He is a really nasty grappler, and it's time to give him a test.
Omar, take it. Albazi runs over Figueiredo Jr. Go.
Yeah, solid performance. His wrestling is really a problem. The control and the pressure it looks like he has on the bottom is, or from the top on the ground, looks absolutely terrifying. I wish Figueiredo would have had a better game plan than trying to play on the ground with a guy who seemed to be significantly stronger than he was. And going for that, I mean, I guess hindsight for this specific part, but going for that knee bar the way that he did and giving up his back to this man like that was a gamble, to say the least.
That's how he fights, though, Figueiredo. He always does shit like that.
It just didn't seem like of all the things you could have done in that moment, that seemed to be the one that was probably the most reckless. And it cost him the fight. I mean, he literally gave up his back. That knee bar was nowhere near an issue. Completely got reversed, got his back taken, and got absolutely choked out, like, pretty badly. That was a solid choke that he got put in.
Okay, in the bantamweight division, Orichi Long defeats Jay Perrin by UD 29-28. All three. Omar, stay with you right here. What's your
pronunciation?
Thank you,
dude. This was a crazy fight, man. Say his first name again.
Orichi Long.
Orichi.
It's kind of on the broadcast. There was no space. It was just one word.
Yeah, it's like one word.
And you don't say the A.
Orichi Long.
Yeah, Orichi Long.
Orichi Long. Orichi Long looked good early in the fight. His technique is very, very sharp. His counters are very, very sharp. His timing is sharp. His distance management's really good. Again, I don't know if this was a altitude thing or if this was Jay Perrin just being a dog, because Jay Perrin seemed to be a dog in that fight. But after a certain point, the strikes weren't landing the same way. Jay Perrin seemed to be getting his timing, seemed to be slipping the shots he needed to and getting those counters on his end. And by the end of that fight, Jay Perrin was bouncing Orichi Long's face off of his hands. I mean, he was using him like a speed bag at the end of the last 10, 15 seconds of that fight. It was a crazy, crazy performance. The momentum shifts in that fight were definitely not something I expected, and definitely a fun fight all the way around. I would have even been okay if Perrin had won that fight 2-1, but I'm fine with this decision.
Mark?
Yeah, I thought that although round 2 was competitive, I thought it did have to go to Orichi Long, and obviously 1 and 3 were clear rounds each way. So I thought it was the right decision. Omar nailed it. The dude is a fantastic counter striker. Like, as soon as you enter his range, they come so quickly. And that's what carried him to 2 of those rounds. I mean, he struggled in the third, as Omar said, but he gets the win. He's now 2-0 as a bantamweight after starting his career in the UFC 0-2 at flyweight. So certainly a good move up to bantamweight for him, and we'll see where he goes next.
All right, last one. Opening the entire night for UFC 278 in the flyweight division, Victor Altamirano defeats Danny Lacerda by TKO. 3 minutes and 39 seconds of the very first round. Mark, go first.
Yeah, dude. Lacerda or De Silva, the guy uses 2 different last names, but whatever you want to call him, Daniel, is such an interesting case because in all of his losses, he shows so much potential. Like, the dude has a lot of talent in there. He just always seems to fuck up, like one way or another. And in this one, he just got taken down, and he couldn't even remotely defend his face from elbows once he was on his back. And it's not like he was hurt initially. Like, he just was taken down. I've never seen such a high rate of elbows land. I think if 20 elbows were thrown, 19 elbows landed. Like, he wasn't doing a single thing to defend his face. And Altamirano just butchered him down there. So a nice win for him.
Omar, take us home. Your quick take.
It was an interesting fight because Altamirano was on the short end of the stick very early on, and all of a sudden the momentum changed. And just like Mark said, they were just infinite elbows being rained down with nothing really coming back. And I think De Silva got too comfortable trying to play jiu-jitsu against a guy who wasn't falling for it and who was making him pay for trying. There's got to be a point where guys say, all right, I'm done here. And to be fair, Figueiredo had a couple of those moments where he got up off of off of the floor from a disadvantageous position while he was getting punched in the face. Whereas De Silva just sort of stayed there, hoped he can get an arm. When he didn't, just continued to take damage until the ref called it. So not the best strategy there. Hopefully he kind of picks that up and doesn't do that again. But solid win from Altamirano.
He might be done, dude. That's 0-3 for him, so we might not be seeing him again.
Well,
Well, gentlemen,
before, then.
that does it for us for this week, for the lightning round. And next week, we vow to be better.
Super lightning.
My lightning symbol's going to go up on the shelf for next time. All right, guys. Let's put a bow on UFC 278 by finding out who rose and who fell in Mark's very own rankings system that he updates after every event, which we call affectionately the Priaulx Rankings. Take it away, buddy.
Let's do it. Not a ton of moves this week. We got 2 risers and 1 faller. The first riser, Merab Dvalishvili. He moves from number 8 to number 3 in my bantamweight rankings. I don't love this big of a jump after that type of win, but you beat Jose Aldo, especially when guys like Cheeto couldn't. You're going to jump. So number 3 is what it is. I didn't think the UFC would go that high, and I actually just looked right now, and they have him in the same spot. So Merab, number 3. Next one, Lucia Pudilova. I reinserted her into the rankings last week. Obviously, when she returned to the UFC, I had her down at 22 at women's bantamweight. I thought at the time it may have been a bit too low. She gets a great win. I've bumped her all the way up to number 16. So she is already kind of back sniffing in the bantamweight mix there. And then the faller, unfortunately, AJ Fletcher, a guy who looks like he's got a lot of potential, but has now moved to 0-2 in the UFC. He was already number 68 in my welterweight ranks. He is now down toward the bottom. Obviously, 0-2, what can you do? He's now number 77 in my welterweight ranking, so we will see if he can save his job his next time out. And that is it for the rankings this week.
Very good. And, Mark, I'm going to stay with you right here because we're going to get a quick PFL 9 playoffs recap from you, my friend, because that's kind of has been your beat so far this year.
Yes, let's do it. All right, so we had the end of the semifinals, the last 2 weight divisions that had not had their semifinals yet. It was men's featherweight and women's lightweight. Started off in the semis of men's featherweight with Bubba Jenkins with a round 1 sub of Ryoji Kudo. He made light work of Kudo with one of the slickest rear naked chokes I have ever seen. If you have not seen it yet, please go watch it. It was so dope the way it was like a judo throw into a roll to the back and immediate choke tap within seconds. It was crazy. Wow. And marches on to the finals as expected out of Bubba Jenkins. Then we switched over to the women. We had actually I'll do the men first, then I'll go to the women. So the other men's semi was the favorite was Chris Wade. He was going in there against Brendan Loughnane, but Loughnane had the luck of having it be in London, where he's from, so he had the crowd support. And for a guy who got called out by Wade before the fight of being allergic to anyone who ever wore a singlet, Brendan Loughnane looked pretty damn impressive with his defensive wrestling. Wade did jump out to lead in round 1, mainly behind a nice head kick that he rattled Loughnane with. But he was in it the whole time. He stuffed takedowns, and he brought it to Chris Wade over the next 10 minutes. The hometown crowd may have been a factor for him, but that was the best Brendan Loughnane we've seen in a while. He showed everything he's capable of. He put it on Chris Wade in the last 2 rounds. I think everyone was kind of assuming it was going to be Jenkins and Wade in the final, and he marched himself in there. So we'll see his wrestling defense tested, maybe even more so against Bubba Jenkins, but it should be a scrap. Brendan Loughnane, Bubba Jenkins, featherweight final for the Millie. Then we switch over to the women. First semifinal, Larissa Pacheco. Round 1 TKO of Helena Kolesnik. It's all she does is knock people out in the first round. I don't know if I've ever seen a fighter look more like food than this Helena Kolesnik. I didn't know her prior to this fight, and as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh my God, this poor woman is going to get eaten in this cage, and God, did she ever. One clean left hook landed, and she was like, nope, I'm going to sit down. That's good enough. Pacheco poured it on her. I did not think that I could be interested in seeing Pacheco fight Kayla Harrison for a 3rd time, and she has officially proved me wrong. I think that's like 5 straight first-round knockouts. She has been an absolute murderer, and I am interested. I know that maybe the level of competition is not there, but when you do that, 5 straight first rounds, I'm fucking interested. So Pacheco marches on to the final, and meeting her from the other side is going to be Kayla Harrison. She got a first-round sub of Martina Jindrova. ran through her just as easily as Pacheco did hers. I love when Kayla goes straight to work and doesn't fuck around. That's absolutely what she did here. Did her work, got the takedown, ground and pound, set up the arm triangle. That was all she wrote. Grabs the mic. She's yelling, "You want to go right now, Pacheco?" Which they probably could have, because I don't think either of them even absorbed a strike. But I'm excited for that final. Obviously, Kayla's going to be a big favorite. I'm curious to see how big. But it should be an exciting final nonetheless. And if Kayla does get it done, I'm sure the Kayla Cyborg rumors are going to start to really swirl. So we'll be looking forward to that one. And that is it for the PFL.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby. All right, folks. Now we're going to switch gears and talk less fights and more headlines. Let's dive inside the MMA sphere with Omar. What's going on, buddy, in the world of MMA outside the cage?
So this past week, to be honest, there hasn't been too much going on. This past UFC event really had most of the media busy, especially with everything that went on after Saturday, all the lead up into Saturday. Not to mention BKFC was going on, so as an FYI there, Mike Perry did end up beating Michael Venom Page by unanimous decision. Like I told you guys, Michael Venom Page without his kicks.
I want to watch
MVP, it was a brawl. It was definitely a brawl. Both of them got messed up. It actually went into a very rare sudden death round at the end and came down to one round basically at the end. And Mike Perry walked away with it.
Do you think he won?
I do. I don't think Page's technique, the way that he fights, the way that he strikes with his hands specifically, is going to be as effective without his kicks. And I think that's really what ended up happening. Mike Perry is just too strong. He's too much of a street brawler, and that style works significantly well inside of the that circle there. So it was a good win. Good win for Mike Perry. That's a huge win on his record. Definitely great publicity. He's already started calling out Jake Paul, which from a business perspective is probably a great move.
Bro, that fight actually works. That would be fun.
I mean, as far as him making money,
he's a lot smaller than him.
I don't think Perry cares. You know what Perry knows? Perry knows if he fights Jake Paul, he'll be a millionaire by the time he's done with that fight.
Well, yeah. I would love to see Mike Perry be a millionaire.
Listen, man. I told you, I said it years ago, bro. Maybe when we first started this, I said Mike Perry was made for BKFC. And look at him. He's like the poster child for BKFC right now. It's fantastic.
5-inch reach, 3-inch height for Jake Paul. And obviously whatever pounds.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Yeah. So as a result, we only have a couple of stories, nothing major here. Eric Silva, for those of you who remember Eric Silva, if you're newer to the UFC, you probably have never seen this guy. But at one point, Eric Silva was one of the more promising guys in the UFC, had a lot of talent. Then USADA came along, and mysteriously that talent went away. Not saying anything, just letting you know what the timeline was like. Eric Silva has officially retired from MMA. In June of 2001, he suffered a heart attack.
I didn't know that.
Doctors say that it might have been a leftover COVID nonsense that caused this heart attack and his subsequent cardio issues. But apparently, he tried to train and get back into it and wasn't working for him. He kept having certain, cardiac issues. Even playing with his kids, he started having some issues. So he's done. So we won't be seeing Eric Silva, unfortunately, in the cage anymore. Next on the list, Conor McGregor. Just a quick update on Conor McGregor's status. He will be out until 2023, as confirmed by his manager. He's basically healing and will be filming Roadhouse in between this time. And then once he's done with all that, he'll come back, ideally come back and fight somebody in the cage. Will be interesting to see what the landscape of the lightweight division is, or the welterweight division at this point is when he comes back.
He'll probably fight Leon Edwards for the welterweight title in Ireland.
Oh my God!
Right.
2023 shaping up already. All right, guys, let's get some fight announcements in, and then we can get on to the rest of the show. First on the list, a nice little sneaky input of a fight here, kind of last minute. Tony Ferguson versus the Leech. Li Jingliang has been added to UFC's 279 card on September 10th, so weeks away from our next pay-per-view, Tony Ferguson and Leech.
Would this be his first fight at welterweight?
No,
at least his
fought there
return.
before.
He has,
Yeah,
right?
his return to welterweight.
Yeah. But I don't know if he's fought there in the UFC.
Oh.
No, he did. He did.
He did for Tough, didn't he?
Post-Tough, on Tough he did, but then he did have a few fights post-Tough before he dropped, I'm pretty sure.
Next on the list, Vince Pichel is out of his fight with Jesse Ronson. Joaquim Silva will be stepping in to fill in that slot, and that will be going down October 1st. Jairzinho Rosenstrike versus Chris Daukaus has been added to UFC's October 1st card as well. Rafael Assunção versus Victor Henry has been added to UFC's October 15th event. Mark, do you know who Victor Henry is?
Yeah, dude. We loved Victor Henry.
Did we?
He was the guy that debuted by piecing up Houni Barcelos.
God, he's got the most generic name in the world. I couldn't picture it.
Maybe like 6 months back, he was a short notice guy, and he looked incredible. If you find the clips, you'll remember who he is.
Fair enough. Victor Henry's probably not the name that's going to stick in my head that quickly, so there it is.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair.
All right. A few more, believe it or not, fight announcements for this goddamn Madison Square Garden card. This card, Mark, if you don't go to this card, you're chooch. You're chooch.
I was talking to my buddy about going. We're going to try to go for sure.
Dan Hooker versus Claudio Puelles has been added to this Madison Square Garden card.
Nice.
I didn't even realize that was on the MSG card. I saw
The
the fight
boy.
announcement, but I didn't realize it was MSG.
The boy Carlos Ulberg versus Nikolai Nurmagomedov.
Wow. They're putting the
Has been
whole
added.
city kickboxing on that card. I wonder if Riddell's going to be on it too. Wait, didn't Riddell get matched up? He did, I think.
Wait for it, Mark. Wait for it, Mark.
Sorry.
Carolina Kovacevic versus Silvana Gomez Juarez added
Wait, I thought
to
she retired.
MSG. Who?
I thought Kovacevic
Carolina?
hung it up.
Carolina just won her last
No,
fight.
dude, she's been looking great.
It was Felice who retired after she lost to Carolina.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Get my
No,
wires
you're good.
crossed.
Ottoman Azatar versus Matt the Roller. What is it? Steamroller Favola. Added to
Ottman's finally gonna
281.
fight, huh? It's been ages.
Renato Moicano versus Brad Riddell.
There we go. Nice
UFC
fight.
281, Mark.
Wow, dude, I gotta fucking go to this thing. My God.
Carla Esparza versus Weili Zhang. UFC 281, Mark. This card is absolutely insane.
I'm pulling up the full
Isn't
card.
isn't Dustin on that card now?
Yeah, Dustin
Yes,
and Chandler.
yes. Dustin and Chandler on this
Dominic
card.
Reyes and Ryan Spann, Blanchfield and McCann.
Oh, great
this
fight!
thing-
Oh my God,
This thing is good.
Blanchfield fighting in her backyard.
They're spending
this?
all the monies for this card.
November 12th. November
man.
12th.
Pay all these fighters.
Put in your vacation time now or something. Get a babysitter or something, man.
Yeah.
All right, next on the list. Vanessa Demopoulos versus Maria Oliveira has been added to UFC's November 19th event.
Okay.
Michael Johnson versus Mark DeCasey has been added to UFC's
DeCasey.
December 3rd event,
Like
which
that
is a
one.
fantastic fight. And last but definitely not least, Julian Marquez versus Duran. I will not be cut. Win added to UFC's December 17th event. The man will not go away. Good for him. That's all I got for you boys this week.
Wow. When is the MSG card?
November 12th.
12th. You flying in?
I feel like I have an event.
Oof.
That hurts bad.
Yeah, I might have.
Depending
You
on the
need money that
time,
bad,
you
man.
might be able to make it.
Do I?
Oh,
No, I have an event on the 18th.
Nice.
That's the next Pettis card.
Fly
In
in,
New York-
dude.
Oh, no. Oh, there.
Yeah, probably in Wisconsin again.
Yeah.
Okay, should we move on?
Let's do it.
Move on.
All right, folks. Now we are turning our attention to the future this coming weekend. One championship. And this is going to be one on Prime Video, on Amazon Prime Video.
Two separate events.
There are two. There's one on Friday and there's one on Saturday.
One championship 160 and one on Prime Video 1.
It should be noted, I believe, one championship 160 is not on Prime.
No, it's not.
Only the one championship on Prime is on Prime.
I love it.
Yeah. Let's see. This says
one likes to make things super simple for people.
This says they're both on Friday morning. That can't be right.
Yeah, I was confused, to be honest, looking at all of it. But I also know...
Thank God for one, at least. We almost had an empty weekend.
What I like about one is that one gets creative with stuff, man. Like what they did with DJ versus Tang, mixed MMA and Muay Thai in the same fight. That's cool. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. So on this card, we have both MMA and Muay Thai, different fights. Omar, you want to preview some MMA, some Muay Thai fights?
I would love to.
Real quick.
For clarity, real quick, the 160 card is going down August 26th, Friday, 8:30, their local time. So whatever that is over here, I think it's a 12-hour difference here.
Singapore.
It's 8:30 a.m. here, yeah.
And then the one card, I think you're right, because it does say August 26th, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
It's 8 p.m. So one is morning here, one is night here.
Yeah.
That's what it is. The thing I was looking at both said AM. That's why I fucked up, but they just typed it wrong, I guess.
Right. Okay, so the one-on-one Prime Video, I think, technically happens first.
No,
yes.
No, that one's at night.
But the 160 doesn't happen till Saturday morning.
No, Friday morning.
Their time, not our time.
No, it happens their Friday night, which is our Friday morning. I'm looking at their website right now. The 160 happens Friday at 8:30 p.m. Singapore time, which is Friday.
Right. It's one day, 9 hours away from now.
Which is Friday, 8:30 a.m. our time.
Yes.
Then the other one happens at 8 a.m. Saturday Singapore time, which is Friday night here. So for us, it's Friday morning, Friday night.
For
viewers, how good is this content?
For the one executives who are obviously listening to our podcast right now, you got to make this easier, just a little easier. It's a little confusing here. But let's jump into some Muay Thai real quick. There are 3 really good fights that are going down this weekend in terms of Muay Thai. Well, 2 big fights in terms of Muay Thai, 3 fights in general on that card that are fantastic. Obviously, Adriano Moraes versus Demetrious Johnson will be going down in that on that card. But apart from that, there is Nango Giyangado versus Liam Harrison. Liam Harrison is an absolute monster. If you've ever watched any of his fights or any of his training videos, he's an absolute savage. He's actually one of the guys that I look at when it comes to leg kicks. He throws leg kicks a very specific way that you basically keep your foundation. You don't over rotate, and you can basically deaden somebody's shin with a very quick, untelegraphed power kick. So I look at Liam Harrison all the time for a lot of his technique. He's very, very good. Definitely recommend you watch him fight. Both of these guys have records in the hundreds, and it will be, I would imagine, a very competitive fight. Liam Harrison's last win was actually against the legendary Sanchai. Sanchai is generally known for fighting guys bigger than him. I don't think he's fought a guy his size in like a decade or so. And that's part of one of the things Sanchai likes to do to be competitive, and because there's just more opportunities for him against guys that are bigger than him. So Liam Harrison was one of those guys. Liam Harrison did a thing that is very rare to do against Sanchai, which was knock him down 3 times for a TKO win. Liam Harrison is the real deal. So definitely make sure to check him out. And then for those of you who saw the last event with Demetrious Johnson against the Muay Thai specialist Rod Tang is getting back into the Muay Thai ring against a Cyprus native, Sevas Michel, or Sevas Michael. I'm not really sure how that goes. But either way, Sevas is actually a very interesting fighter because he has less experience than anybody else on this card when it comes to Muay Thai. He's actually got a record of 40... Oh, did I just close it? Hang on. Juice move. he has 45 wins and 4 losses. Every single one of these guys that I'm talking about here have a minimum of at least 300 fights on their records. Liam Harrison, I think, has... Actually, that's a lie. Liam Harrison has 116. The guys that are straight up from Thailand, this gentleman, Nango, has 326 fights on his record. And Rod Tang has 320 fights on their record. So the two guys not from Thailand have less, but like I said, Liam Harrison still has over 100 fights on his record. Michael has, 49 total. But with only 4 losses and knockouts all over his record, he's definitely somebody that you need to look out for. Rod Tang is obviously not somebody that goes away easily. The way these Muay Thai guys fight, they are absolute monsters and pieces of steel when they hit each other. So definitely be on the lookout for these 2 Muay Thai fights. Absolutely recommend. It will be nothing but fireworks. I don't recommend going into these fights expecting knockouts. That's not how these fights generally work. Muay Thai fights tend to be very, very technical, very grueling, and very fast paced. So I would be, if you're interested in those kind of fights, really technical fights, these are definitely the fights to watch for.
Okay. What else, Mark? You have some little previews for Thanh Le and Tang Kai?
Oh, I think Omar wants to do these too, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go one by one.
Okay.
You can cue it up.
I think I have my cards mixed up apparently. So why don't you guys take it?
Oh, all right. So by the way, I looked it up. So the morning card is on YouTube that you'd be watching it, and the night card is on Prime Video. So we're going to talk about 3 MMA fights here. The first 2, which are the featherweight championship and the lightweight championship of ONE FC, are on that morning card. The final one, which is the DJ fight for the flyweight championship, that is on that night card on Prime Video. So first one we'll do, featherweight championship, which in one is 155. We always have this discussion every time because they do the hydration tests and all. So they're 155 there. If they were over here, they'd be 45ers. Featherweight championship, the champion is Thanh Le. He is defending against Tang Kai. Omar, you want to take it first, or you want me to take it?
You can take it first.
All right. I think it's probably safe to say this one is not going to be hitting the ground. Both of these guys, number one avenue to victory is to come in and try to take your head off. They're both nasty strikers. Tang Kai has won 9 in a row, 7 of those by knockout or TKO. Thanh Le has won 5 straight, all by knockout. We're going to see someone fall here, very likely. And I'll be honest, I know Tang Kai, but I don't know him incredibly well, so I wouldn't say this is quite the level of informed prediction I'm usually giving. But with that said, I trust Thanh Le right now. His last fight against Gary Tonin impressed me a ton. I think the fight IQ that carried him in that fight may similarly give him the edge in this one. As the fight goes on, I think he starts to get his reads, finds his spots better. I will say Thanh Le defends the belt with a round 3 knockout of Tang Kai.
Omar?
I would have to agree. I'm pretty high on Thanh Le right now. I'm one of these guys that when I saw him on Tough, I thought he could actually hang with the best of them. I think his real issue was at the time and might even still be, the ground game is his weakness. And I think he's bridged that gap quite a bit, so it's not as much of a discrepancy, I think, as it was in the past. I don't think he'll need to worry about that here, though. And I think when he's in a position where he doesn't need to worry about that facet of the game the same way he would with, let's say, a Gary Tonin, for example, who would want to take him to the ground, I think he's able to style a little bit more and have a little bit more fun. I'm of the mindset that Lee is a little bit more dominant than Kang is, although it'll be a firefight for sure. I think Lee is just a little bit sharper, and I think he will come out with a KO in round 1.
Wow. Damn.
Okay.
All right. Next one. So this one is the lightweight championship. Again, they're 170 over there. They'd be 55ers if they were over here, if they could make it. All these are if they could make it, because you never know with what's going on over there in one, especially with the last fight we're going to talk about tonight. But this one, the champ is Rae Yoon. He is defending in a rematch against the man he took the belt from in Christian Lee. These two fought in September of 2021, and Rae Yoon took Christian Lee's title by a highly controversial decision. I do remember watching and thinking that Lee had won at the time. But Oak was in the fight throughout. Like, there's no reason to think he can't defend the title in this one. It was a close fight. But I remember a lot of people didn't feel great about the decision. There was a lot of debate back and forth about which way it should have gone. I love that one has decided to run this right back. Granted, almost a year later for I don't know what reason exactly that we took a whole year. But here we are, and we're going to get the whoever is the rightful lightweight champion will hopefully be sorted a little more definitively in this one. Lee is going to come in there like a ball of fire and try to pour it on Rae Yoon. That's how he fights. That's all he knows. And especially after the judging controversy, I'm sure he is not going to look to leave it in their hands again, and that he's going to hunt for that finish from jump. Rae Yoon is the craftier fighter, probably. He's got the cardio on his side. Sometimes Lee fades a bit because of how hard he goes out the gate. Oak knows how to score points. He's just not likely to finish you. So it's really two different styles clashing in there. Usually you know where I go on that type of style clash, which is that I tend to lean toward the guy who can finish fights. So put me on Team Christian Lee. I will say he is going to be the first person to finish Rae Yoon since Song Yadong did it way back in 2015. I will say Christian Lee takes the belt. Give me a round 2 TKO.
Ooh.
I like Christian Lee. I like that whole family. I'm a big fan of Angela Lee. What she did to Stem Fairtex in her last fight was dope.
Yes.
And I'm a big fan of Christian Lee as well. I think he's actually got some really good skills. Sad that we may not see him on this side of the pond. For us to see him with guys that we know and we revere in that weight class. But the fact is Christian Lee's a dangerous dude, man. And not to rehash everything that Mark just said, but I also think that Christian Lee won that first fight. And I think there's something about the second fight that makes me think he'll come in even more prepared than the first. And as a result, I'm going to go with a spicy pick. I'm going to go with Christian Lee by submission.
I thought about it.
Round 2.
Before we move to the next one, I don't know what Eddie Alvarez is doing over there. Maybe he decided that he's retiring. I mean, the man is 38 years old, but he hasn't fought since April of last year, so it's been over a year. And I know it's been a little up and down for him over there. He recently lost to Rae Yoon. If Christian Lee gets this belt and we could put Eddie in a fight where he could get a win, him and Christian Lee would be so much fucking fun. Like, I feel like while Eddie is in one, we can't not have that fight happen. So I hope they figure out a way to
Eddie looks gigantic. Eddie looks like the biggest he's ever looked in his life.
When?
I've seen him on Instagram. He just looks. I don't even know if he's like.
When he fought Rae Yoon, he looked like a midget compared to Rae Yoon, which again always makes me not love these hydration rules.
I mean, like buff, like, and I don't even know if like shredded is really it. Some of that might be some dad shit going on there. But
dude, maybe he's done. Maybe he's said I've had enough and just hasn't officially announced it.
Maybe.
Who knows? All right, last one. We move to the prime card at night. Our final preview of this week's show. Not that much MMA this weekend. It's the big one. It's the rematch for the flyweight title. Again, it's 135 over there. They'd be flyweights here. The champ, Adriano Moraes. The challenger, Demetrious Johnson. Another rematch. Omar, you want me to go first again, as I've been doing?
I'll go first here.
All right.
Moraes,
to you.
Moraes and Johnson are fighting again now for the second time. The first time was kind of a spectacle, I got to say. I don't know if anybody would have ever picked that specific finish to happen. I will say Moraes in the first fight looked bigger than Johnson, physically bigger, longer as well. Was definitely able to look like he was stronger than Demetrious Johnson in the clinch and in the grapple situation. Got Johnson to the ground and kneed him straight in the face right he was against the cage. And this was like weeks after we had talked about, there was like all this discussion about knees on the grounded opponent and
because of Priaulx and Aldo.
That's right. It was weeks
and
after
DJ
that.
had chimed in on it.
And so crazy. And right after that, DJ was like, I'd still like knees on the ground. It's fine. It's all good. But to be honest, that fight ended so quickly that it was difficult to really evaluate the fight as a whole, other than taking away from the things that I just said, the size differences, and just sort of the result thereof. I love DJ, and I want him to win. I always want DJ to win, but Moraes is not really a bad fighter by any stretch of the imagination. The kid is very, very, very good. And with the size advantage he has against DJ, it's a really tall order at this point, I think, for DJ to win this fight. I will be rooting for DJ. I want DJ to win. But if you had a gun to my head and said I would be wrong, if I'm wrong, I die, I'm going to have to go with Moraes. I'm going to go with Moraes by decision. I don't think he knocks him out again. I really hope he doesn't knock him out again. But I do think he gets the better of him.
Yeah. So, as Omar said, the first time we saw this fight, it did not go very well for Demetrious Johnson. We kind of thought we were going to have this coronation of DJ went to 1. He worked through the ranks. Here we go. Now we put the belt on him, and it did not happen. But I'm struggling because to not pick Demetrious Johnson still feels absolutely insane because he's Demetrious Johnson. But Omar touched on it. Adriano Moraes is huge, and this is the one that always bothers me a little bit about however the hydration works over there. If Adriano Moraes could ever make 125, if he fought in one of these other promotions, I would be absolutely shocked. Maybe if he changed his body type. I know he's made it in the past, but his body type is so fucking big and muscular. I can't imagine that man making 125. It feels like him and DJ are in two different weight classes. He's 5'8". He has a 69-inch reach. DJ is 5 inches shorter. He's got a 3-inch shorter reach, and as I said, significantly smaller human. And to top it off, Moraes is very good and very dangerous anywhere the fight goes. But I kind of want to say that he had his day, that he had his big moment in MMA, and boy, was it ever a moment. But Demetrious Johnson is one of the most talented fighters I've ever seen in my life. He hasn't shown us any reason to think he's fallen off. Doesn't matter that he left UFC for ONE FC. It doesn't matter that he's been fighting someone infrequently. I haven't seen any reason to think he's not still Demetrious Johnson. He looked great against Tang. Obviously, it was a mixed rules fight, but I thought he looked fantastic. It's possible that the size is just too much to overcome. It's very possible because you see them stand next to each other and you're like, what is happening here? But I guess I'm going to need to see that twice because I think DJ is just crafty enough to get inside. I think he's so damn fast that he can stay inside enough to win this fight. And I will say he wins a UD. And
wow. Takes it back.
Well, not back. He's never had it.
Oh, that's true. The first one. Yeah. Good talk. Nice. I'm going to side with Omar here. I think that DJ, he's getting a little long in the tooth, combined with the fact that Moraes is a much bigger fighter. I'm going to take Moraes. I don't remember exactly what the time was or what the round was last time, but I'm going to say Moraes finishes him again.
It was round 2 last time.
Let's go round 3. Fuck it.
All right.
Okay.
Way to
All
be
right,
dicks,
boys.
guys. Way to be dicks.
Well, that does it for the show. Gentlemen, we just have one last thing to do, and that's a little bit of trivia. Okay. Here we go. What's my question here? Aha. Okay. Last weekend, Leon Edwards knocked out Kamaru Usman at 4 minutes and 4 seconds of round number 5, etching his name in the history books. One of the latest knockout or TKO stoppage wins ever. Who has the record for the latest knockout win in a fight?
In a
Is
fight.
it
Not a title fight, just a fight.
not a title fight? Any fight. Is it A, Justin Gaethje, B, Jairzinho Rosenstrike, C, Cain Velasquez, D, Yair Rodriguez,
Oh, it
Or
might be
E.
Yair.
Kamaru, Usman.
No, I think it's the Yair zombie one.
It is. It is. Can't get later than knocking someone out at the
Yeah,
horn.
459. Yeah.
That is correct.
I knew it. When you posed the question, I was trying to go through my brain. I was like, someone did it at the horn. And then as soon as I heard it, I was like, that's it.
Craziest knockout ever.
When he
Ever.
said
Oh my
Kane,
God.
I was trying to remember when Kane knocked out JDS the second time when he like slammed him on the floor. I was trying to
Yeah, that
remember
was
when
late.
that happened, but
That was a 309 in the 5th round.
Okay, yeah.
Rosenstrike was super late too. Rosenstrike
Yeah, it
was
was.
456 of the 5th.
Oh, wow.
oh
the main
wow,
event.
I thought it was like 20 seconds left. I forgot it was that close.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's of Reem you're talking about, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
Usman, when he TKO'd Covington in their first fight, it was at
oh
410.
that's right.
There was
410.
50 seconds left
Yeah.
in the 5th.
Yeah,
I
That's why
think I
Kobe
maybe
was
thought
bitching the
double
whole
that
time.
left, but yeah. Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, we've done it again.
Good one.
Fun one.
One more who's smarter than us.
Thunder round. Love it. Officially renaming it.
Damn, we almost
Fuck
went
it.
2 hours on this fucking episode. We thought it was going to be a quick one.
That's what
This
happens.
is what
when you-
happens. We know we don't have that much on the plate, and we
Right,
talk
we kind of
way more
relax.
freely, and
Yes.
then
We
Yep.
spent like 10
That's
minutes
fine.
in the middle of the lightning round, so there's that.
Let us know. Give us some feedback, guys, in the comments. Let us know what you think about the slower pace. Love it.
This is how I'm going to take us out, guys. I'm going to take us out right here. Hang on. Here we go. Oh, come on, bitch.
Hold.
You know, when
What's
things
happening?
technically don't work properly,
You trying to play a song?
really
Pound
kills
for
the whole
pound,
thing.
headshot dead.
I was trying to do something
I
here,
heard something.
and it's not working.
Pound for pound, headshot, dead.
Did I say it wrong when we opened this episode? I sort of feel like I said it wrong.
No, you said it right.
Oh, I did.
All right.
I
You
thought I
know
said
what?
bang instead of dead.
I will put what I'm trying to do in post, and then you guys will hear it when it goes up.
All right.
I feel like from that main event and from the aftermath and during the fight, there's like 5 or 6 different T-shirts that could be made with quotes.
Oh yeah. What's the thing he said 100 times? Look at me now. Is that what it
at me
was?
now.
Look at me now, yeah.
Yeah,
at me
dude, he
now.
literally said it 50 times.
Yeah.
You all doubted me? Look at me now. Look at me now.
Amazing.
Dude, you do a good Leon Edwards.
Oh, thank you.
Like the high pitch in it and everything. It's good.
My favorite was I would put on a T-shirt would be the "Don't let him bully you, son."
Yeah, it's good.
Oh,
Yeah, there were a lot of
goosebumps.
quotes, man. A lot of quotes.
Goosebumps. All right, boys. Well, we will reconvene next week. Talk about some one championship results, and we're going
Next
to
week.
keep on.
I am going to be broadcasting to you live from vacation. So I will
okay.
look different.
Where's your vacay, if you don't mind sharing?
LBI, Long Beach Island.
Nice,
I go there
nice.
for like a week every summer, and it will happen to be this week. So hopefully,
Enjoy.
if you remember last year, the house's internet didn't work, and we didn't do a show. Hopefully this
Oh,
year.
that's
we do.
right.
We'll see. It might have to be a 2-man operation. We'll see.
Yeah. I should be.
All right, folks. Enjoy the ONE FC One Championship fights, and we'll see you next week probably. All right, guys. Bye bye. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.